Thursday. It is Thursday, right? April 11th, hanging with you. Greg Bishop with Bishop on Air. Good morning to all those jumping into the chat room this early. Custom Guys Garage, Ricardo, James, Brian, Warbot, Joseph, Dave DeHunter, John, Daniel, Joe, Ed, Sergio, Tenebris, and more. Sean, appreciate you being here. Captain Mike. Another day, another dollar, right? And plenty to tackle, including a whole host of things going on at the Illinois State House. You have both the House and the Senate in session. Some legislative leaders talking about what they are hoping to accomplish for the business community, while we've also got a couple of interesting developments in the space of taxation, especially when it comes to comparing Illinois to neighboring states like Missouri. So we'll touch on some of that. We've also got to tackle the issue of, gun control and the latest in the back and forth in the courts. What's expected today down in the Southern District of Illinois with the challenge of Illinois' gun ban, and so much more right here with Bishop on Air. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I want to remind you as well, be sure to catch the latest weekly podcast from Illinois in Focus with the Center Square. That comes out Friday mornings, so I know you guys check this out, but be sure to subscribe to Illinois in Focus, where you'll be able to get that weekly roundup of what's going on at the Illinois State House impacting you, the taxpayer. So all of that, of course, to say that we've got plenty to tackle, and we'll be back with more here with Bishop on Air. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, all right? Appreciate you guys. Challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban has a court hearing today, but it's a status and scheduling conference just to get an idea of where the attorneys on both sides of this are at with getting their witnesses together. While you've got conversations being had by gun control groups on a whole bunch of Illinois legislation expected today and continued litigation against gun manufacturers who are alleged to be behind and responsible for gun violence because of the products they manufacture. So we'll talk about all of that here in this segment. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to follow along. Bishop on Air everywhere. Just search Bishop on Air on Facebook, on X, and right here on YouTube as well, while I hang out in my home office delivering you guys the news. So appreciate you. All right, let's get into it. Of course, we've been tracking the Southern District of Illinois federal court case challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban really since before it was actually enacted. And some of you guys who've been here since the beginning would love to see that thumbs up. Just put in the comments watching live. Been here since day one. It'd be interesting to see how many people each morning hanging out live, even when this was on terrestrial radio back on WMAY days, to when I just couldn't put in the 15 hours a day between the two jobs. So I decided to work smarter, not harder, and do a show here, keeping you guys updated. But we've been tracking this. The debate that happened before the law was passed and signed by the governor in January of 2023. And then all the way up to now, where you've got tons of litigation against the gun and magazine ban and so much more. So it's been interesting to track this because I'm not an attorney. I may dress like one on occasion, but I'm not an attorney. So tracking this and how the litigation plays out and the terminology, I hope that we've been able to essentially be on the same page and learning together in all of this. while looking at that discussion about what the Second Amendment is and whether or not government has the ability to restrain, restrict, or infringe on the Second Amendment. And I know that a lot of the arguments are really getting down to what kinds of firearms are allowed to be in the hands of citizens versus what kinds of firearms shouldn't be in the hands of citizens. And all of this, of course, is going to come out as the debate continues. But we've been tracking this since day one, even before the law was passed, enacted, banning the sale of more than 170 different semi-automatic firearms, rifles, shotguns, handguns, magazines over certain capacities. It was no more than 15 rounds for handguns, no more than 10 rounds for magazines. So all of those were prohibited to be sold for several months until, of course, weeks after the law was implemented, lawsuits were filed in both state and federal court. We've tracked the state-level challenge all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court, then bouncing up to the U.S. Supreme Court, only to deny that, coming back to the Illinois Supreme Court, and then putting that to rest, at least the state-level case. You've still got the federal cases that are lingering. And Neighborville case was actually the first one filed back in November of 2022, when you had Robert Beavis from Law Weapons sue Neighborville over their gun and magazine ban. They then amended their lawsuit to include the state ban. So that's actually been decided by the district court, went up to the Seventh Circuit, lumped in with other lawsuits challenging the state's ban from the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court and the Seventh Circuit, ultimately with split decisions from the Southern District, who granted an injunction against the gun ban. That injunction, halting the law from being enforced, was ultimately overturned with a stay by the Seventh Circuit courts in the Southern District. So then you have the Northern District courts side with the state, saying on a preliminary motion, this was not on the merits. None of that action last year was on the merits of whether or not the state can ban commonly owned firearms, like a AR-15, for instance, or like a lot of other firearms that some people scratch their heads and say, how can that possibly be an assault weapon? So you've got the trajectory of all these cases. Really do need like a whiteboard back here or something just to spell out where we're at, right? But today, in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court, Judge Stephen McGlynn is holding a scheduling conference with litigants to discuss the next steps to get to the merits of this. Because after all that preliminary action last year, now it's time to get to the merits. And despite attempts by not just the defense, but the plaintiffs in the Southern District, they wanted to hold off on getting to the merits so they could ask the U.S. Supreme Court again, which they ultimately did, to intervene. While we're waiting on the U.S. Supreme Court to make a decision on that, McGlynn said, we've got to move forward on the merits of this based off of what the Seventh Circuit had to say, the appeals court had to say. So they're moving forward. We've reviewed all of the different types of experts that some of the plaintiffs want to have heard during a trial. So that's going to start playing out here. We'll get a defined schedule, I imagine, in very short order of what to expect moving forward in that challenge in the Southern District. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens today. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to go down to the courtroom in East St. Louis and live tweet the proceedings. I'm going to have to stay at the Capitol here in Illinois, in Springfield, to track all the stuff that's going on at the State House, because both chambers are in. So just one person. I can't be in both places, but I can bring you tomorrow some of the latest that happens there. So be sure to follow along with Bishop on Air on X. But that's not the only thing going on. You've got other issues going on. The coalition of gun control advocates, they are holding a call of sorts. They say that they're excited for updating an upcoming monthly coalition call with the Homicide Victims Family Rights Act being the focus. And you got an Illinois legislature that's going to be a part of that conversation with this gun control group. You've got other things that they're going to discuss, like Senate Bill 2633, and this is coming from Everytown Against Gun Violence. They are looking at a couple of different measures in Illinois that would essentially allow for police to be required to go after firearms of somebody who has a firearm restraining order issued against them, which raises a lot of questions about due process. First of all, the FROs, the red flag laws, those do raise substantial questions about due process. which I think is a separate conversation on its own. But they're going to be talking about that. They're also going to be talking about different types of data transparency that they're going to be pushing for at the Illinois State House. They're going to be talking about gun storage and stuff on lost and stolen guns. So several measures at the Illinois State House that they're looking to ultimately advance. And I do want to try to pull up illinois.gov, Illinois General Assembly's website, ilga.gov. We'll look at this together as I get my notes here so we can kind of see exactly how this plays out, right? So looking at my notes, you've got some of the bills that the gun control advocates are going to be pushing for. One is Senate Bill 2633. Where are we at on Senate Bill 2633? So go to ilga.gov, and you should be able to kind of follow along and do this yourself so you can kind of see where we're at on this. So firearms, domestic violence, it's in a subcommittee. So not sure if that measure is going to be coming out anytime soon, but that's just one measure. And then you've got House Bill 4469. Let's go check out House Bill 4469. Where is that at? Right now, that's in the Rules Committee, and you have a possible extension on getting that out of committee. So it's not really advanced to the full House or to the full Senate. What about safe gun storage? Senate Bill 3527. Let's see, SB 3527. Here you've got the measure is in a subcommittee, so not much is going on with that measure. What about House Bill 5065? House Bill 5065. You've got this in committee, so it doesn't look like they've got a good track record here of these measures moving at the Illinois State House. Lost and stolen guns, HB 5595. HB 5595. Let's search that one. Here we go. That's also in committee, so it has not advanced, I imagine. Just taking a stab in the dark here, SB 3737. Has that advanced at all? 3737. I think I fat fingers here. SB 3737. Here we go. And that also is in committee. So clearly you can see the gun control groups pushing for certain bills at the State House. Those measures really haven't advanced. And we've been looking at that for weeks upon weeks in prior shows. But while there's been a lot of concern as to them possibly moving these things, a lot of these measures about lost and stolen guns and safe gun storage and expanding the firearms restraining order laws, those really have not advanced. So interesting to see that particular gun control group going to have those conversations. So that's what's going on, or maybe not going on, at the Illinois State House when it comes to those particular proposed bills. But we still have the ongoing lawsuits against gun manufacturers and the challenges against the state law that allows for those lawsuits. We've talked about the lawsuits that the city of Chicago has against Glock, and that is, of course, something that we'll be tracking. But apparently you also have individuals impacted by the July 4th mass shooting in Highland Park suing Smith & Wesson. And Smith & Wesson has been looking to essentially move a state-level lawsuit where they're being sued to federal court. Well, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals rejected Smith & Wesson's attempt to try to take that lawsuit to federal court, and instead ruled that they have to move forward in the local Lake County court. So families suing Smith & Wesson, and Smith & Wesson trying to move that to federal court, but that's not happening. So interesting to see these stories, and we'll track as much as we can for you here in Illinois and how this stuff impacts the Second Amendment. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, stay with us, and we'll keep you posted on the very latest when we get it. All right. Somebody's asking, am I a Glock or a SIG guy? I'll plead the fifth to your questions. That's funny. I will, however, accept invitations from gun ranges that want to show me what's going on at your gun range. I've got a couple. Maybe this summer we do some traveling to to different places throughout Illinois and talk with some of the experts out there about firearms, firearm safety, training, the types of things people can do. So a lot to come on all of that. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning as I have all these buttons in front of me, pushing things and making stuff happen. So like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for me, all right? Yeah, I'm a high point guy. James. Oh, that's pretty good. While Illinois looks at increasing different types of tax credits, our neighbors to the west and the Show Me states saying that they are looking at getting rid of tax credits and even phasing out their corporate income tax. Governor J.B. Pritzker defending Illinois' tax climate. Welcome back, Bishop on Air. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out. And this is obviously something, for my full-time job, I cover Illinois state governments with the Center Square. And if you don't follow the Center Square, you've got to. If you live in Illinois or any state, really, go check out thecentersquare.com. All right, you can find reporting on what's going on at your state house at thecentersquare.com. I am the Illinois Associate Editor, so I have 15 different feeds going. I feel like I'm standing in front of an open fire hydrant with my mouth wide open, and it's information overload at times, but I feel like I've got a decent bandwidth to take it all in and to digest it and to get it out to you guys. But we, of course, have been tracking all kinds of things with Illinois. High taxes, high property taxes. Earlier this week, we talked about how last week a House committee advanced measures to allow for local governments to increase property taxes. And Illinois already has the second highest property taxes in the country. That doesn't just impact you as an individual homeowner or even a renter when it comes to your landlord having to increase rents because they have to pay higher property taxes, but it also impacts businesses. Something else that impacts businesses, a high tax climate. And Illinois regularly ranks among the highest, if not the highest, for overall tax burden. And then you look at the amount of debt that the state of Illinois has, unfunded pension liability, unfunded public employee retirement liability, unfunded public employee health care liability. All of these things start stacking up. But then you look at neighboring states, and a state like Missouri, they're getting ready to move forward with getting rid of their corporate tax. Again, go to thecentersquare.com, and on the Missouri page, you can actually see that the Missouri legislature is looking to phase out the corporate income tax and tax credits, and a bill to do that in the Missouri Senate. While here in Illinois, they're looking at all kinds of different tax credits. Yesterday in a Senate committee, they actually advanced several, well, they didn't advance, they heard about several tax provisions. Those tax provisions include Senate Bill 3273 gives tax credits to people with student loans. Senate Bill 172 awards income tax credits to people who provide an endowment gift to a permanent endowment fund. In addition, they also reviewed Senate Bill 3395, which gives tax credits to music companies and people pursuing music education degrees. But one thing that we haven't heard about when it comes to tax credits in Illinois is the Invest in Kids tax credit program. That was that education scholarship program that private dollars went into to fund scholarships. And in exchange for that private dollar donation, they would get up to 75% Illinois income tax credit on that. So essentially it was incentivizing private dollars to support low-income families to get their kids into a school of their choice. That program ended after 5 years at the end of last year. And there's been virtually no conversation about that tax credit. However, we have all kinds of other tax credits in Illinois. For instance, Goshen, that Chinese company that's got alleged ties to the Communist Party, they are in line to get $500 million in Illinois income tax credits. You've got tax credits for data centers, carve-outs for battery manufacturers, carve-outs for the electric vehicle space, and a variety of other different types of carve-outs that some argue picks winners and losers. One of my colleagues, Katrina Peterson, she asked Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday about the tax climate in Illinois, especially as Missouri is eyeballing getting rid of their corporate income tax over several years. They want to drop it down to zero while also getting rid of the tax credits that Missouri has, which some argue picks winners and losers. Here's the governor from yesterday after events with the Illinois Manufacturers Association.
Well, Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers. We provide incentives for companies that come to Illinois. We have EDGE tax credits, which are available to anybody, for example, that wants to start or build and grow a business in Illinois. And we're very proud of the fact that Illinois is, in fact, attracting companies from all over the world. And I should say manufacturing companies. And I've worked hard with Mark. We've gone on a number of marketing tours around the world, and more to come, to make sure that everybody knows how great the state of Illinois is. The number one thing that people are looking for is a great environment for growing their business that has available to them a location that has a lot of available power, energy, that has a workforce that is skilled and available to take over their manufacturing capability. And a place that is welcoming to their employees. So all of that together is something that Illinois offers to companies, whether they're already here or coming from around the world.
So again, the governor responding to my colleague's question about how does Illinois stay competitive with the tax climate that it's got versus other neighboring states like Missouri, where they're looking at slashing tax rates. Well, again, my colleague Katrina Peterson also chasing down State Representative Blaine Wilhauer to get his reaction to neighbors and the competitive nature they've got against Illinois.
We're already not competitive. We've got a lot of advantages here in Illinois over Missouri. We should be a powerhouse, but we're not because of the policies that we push. And then when they do this, it makes us even more uncompetitive. Just last week, we were passing through Revenue Committee all kinds of mechanisms for governments in the state of Illinois to raise property taxes that are already crushing people. And, meanwhile, in the state of Missouri, Indiana, every state around us is becoming more and more competitive, and they're just stealing our opportunity. They're stealing our people, they're stealing our opportunity, but it shouldn't happen.
So, again, Blaine Wilhauer talking about other states around us. And if you look at some of the stats there are, Illinois' corporate income tax rate, as we reported with the Center Square, 9.5%. Indiana's corporate income tax rate, 4.9%. Iowa's 5.5 to 7.1%. Kentucky has a 5% corporate income tax rate. But a study released earlier this year ranked Illinois the worst states to start a new business. Simplify LLC scored Illinois low because of the state's maximum corporate tax rate of 9.5% and the exodus of what the company called educated adults from the state in 2023. Remember, we've got a migration issue in the state of Illinois. So clearly there's ongoing issues that aren't being addressed at the Illinois State House. More words from State Representative Blaine Wilhauer.
All kinds of gimmicks that we do through government with picking winners and losers, but at the end of the day, if we just fix our structural problems that we have, if we got our spending under control, if we prioritize the things that are important to bring jobs and opportunities back, the natural advantages to Illinois are going to show through. It's just we need to get government out of the way.
But again, the governor says that Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers.
Well, Illinois doesn't pick winners and losers. We provide incentives for companies that come to Illinois. We have EDGE tax credits, which are available to anybody.
And he talks about that EDGE tax credits, which is the Economic Development for a Growing Economy tax credit. And that's run into issues in the past because ultimately what it does is it incentivizes various startups to invest and create and retain jobs in Illinois. But sometimes they get tax credits and then all of a sudden they lay a bunch of people off, and then you're like, well, how do we claw back those tax credits? I remember covering that 10 years ago. So clearly, the issue of tax credits, there's argument that when you have to carve out certain industries over others, you're picking winners and losers. You're essentially saying, hey, the EV market is going to be a winner, but we're not going to do the same tax credits for the internal combustible engine manufacturers. Because, and again, we, the government, as policymakers may say, want to focus on elevating one industry over another. So again, there's an economic argument to be had there, and I think an interesting one, especially when you've got states like Illinois right next to Missouri and the back and forth of economic competitiveness. So a lot of other things happening at the Illinois State House, and again, go to thecentersquare.com where you can find headlines like this. Illinois Senate passes bill prohibiting single-use plastics in hotels. This was an interesting back and forth between state senators yesterday when they were discussing the issues of single-use plastics and how they're going to go about possibly regulating that. And you have State Senator Laura Fine, Democrat sponsor of the bill, with State Senator Steve McClure debating this. And you can watch that video at thecentersquare.com, where here's Laura Fine talking about her bill.
Small single-use plastic bottles in hotels. It creates a win-win. It is economic for the hotel and motel industry, and it is good for the environment. This encourages a change in behavior. Right now, we are putting so much plastic pollution into our waterways that it will no longer be safe for aquatic consumption and then human consumption.
This is unnecessary. If all the hotels are for this, if they're in favor of this, then let them do it.
So McClure went on to talk about how the measure requires states' attorneys to enforce this, and states' attorneys are already strapped with all kinds of other things that they got to deal with. You also have this measure passing the Illinois Senate, adding hurdles to mobile home park owners looking to sell their property. Essentially, the measure would require right of first refusal for those who live at the mobile home park or the mobile home park association for that particular set of properties. If the owner wants to go out and sell, they got to offer it up to them first before they go to anybody to sell it. So that measure passed, but Republicans pushing back saying that this violates property rights and you shouldn't be able to dictate to a property owner who they need to first go and get a bid from. So interesting to see that. But then you had Chamber Day with the Illinois Chamber of Commerce and a lot of business owners in Springfield, and they heard from some of the legislative leaders like State Senator Don Harmon, the Senate president, also Senate Minority Leader John Curran, but they also heard from House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch and House Minority Leader Tony McCombie. So if you get a chance, go over to thecentersquare.com. Stay up to date with what's going on because there's plenty more happening at the Illinois State House, including you, the taxpayers, on the hook for increased costs for state workers' Cadillac health plans. It's increasing 16%. And we use the term Cadillac because that's what the CMS manager for the state of Illinois called those health care plans. So that's increasing 16%, but state senators pointing out, why is Illinois an outlier here? Because other states, at their state employees' health insurance plans aren't increasing at that rate. So clearly a lot of things going to be happening in that conversation as well. As is there with Tier 2 pensions, and they're looking to increase benefits for Tier 2 pensions as a way to, as supporters say, support and to retain and attract employees for state government jobs, but opponents of expanding benefits say that the state just can't afford it. So that's a collection of different things happening at the Illinois State House. Hopefully you are a bit more informed today than you were yesterday. We'll be back at it to give you a brief update on a Friday about some of the things going on at the Illinois State House with both chambers back in today. And I think the House is back in tomorrow. We'll see if they cancel. We'll see. Not sure if they're going to be here tomorrow, but regardless, a lot's going to happen today, and we'll keep you posted. All right, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's Bishop on Air with you each and every weekday morning. Thank you for being part of the program. All right. So those sticking around, thank you for being here. Warsaw Patriots, appreciate that. Judge McGlynn, he's asking, they've got the hearing today. It's a scheduling conference, so we'll try to update you on what happened, give an indication of what's moving forward and maybe a timeline. So we'll do that for you, and I talked a bit about that in the first segment of the show. Who else has got some stuff hanging out here at the last minute? Sean, I'll do my darndest to have a great day. You do it as well. Also, let's see here. Those of you who've been listening since day one, I'm going to scroll back in the live chat here, see who's been here since day one. Looks like a bunch of thumbs ups. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Nedrick, good morning. Warbot, thumbs up. Chubby Guy Customs, thumbs up from James Bond Jr., thumbs up from John Anderson. Till Valhalla, still sell, thumbs up. Or is that still here? Chris is new. Thanks for being on board. MFNG, watching live since WNAY. Wasn't even 92.7. Oh, that's right, because it was on the AM channel, if you remember. Yeah. John, Dave, Ed, Colonel Sanner, Dave till Valhalla, thumbs up. Mark Miller, thumbs up. Christopher, thumbs up. Everybody's giving thumbs up. I don't know if that means you guys been watching since day one, but either way. All right. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. I got to get out of here and get to work. All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow. I hate to keep breaking in here, but I am going to go and hang out with my brothers this weekend, and we're going to possibly record some more music, so who knows? Maybe I come back on Monday, and I've got a whole slew of different types of tunes I can spin for you guys that is original, performed in a basement. I love making music. I'll tell you, if I won the lottery, first of all, I'd have to play it, but if I won the lottery, I would make music and documentaries all day long. That's really what I think I would be up to. So, all right, that's it. I'm done breaking in. You guys take care. Appreciate everybody. It's hung out this long. Look at that. Right on. Tenebris, I'm not a Apple or a Mac guy. I'm a Windows guy. So just sorry.